Hello, my dear crafters. Very welcome everybody to my channel. Everyone who came first time or already subscribed. Today I bring another little video about knitting, and I am starting a new series about essential stitches and essential knitting techniques, and I will call it Knitting School from Vita Crafts. And I will show you some techniques, some stitches, maybe some patterns, and everything you need to know about knitting if you're beginner, or maybe not just beginner and advanced knitters as well. Then today I want to show you this my work. I started socks, and on this example I will talk to you about two basic stitches for knitting, which is the knit stitch and purl stitch, and we talk about knitting in general, because I like that you understand what you're doing, why you're doing, how you create your knitting patterns, etc. For those who are not first time on my channel, you probably know that I am a continental style knitter, and maybe this can be a problem for some of you, but I think that today I want to tell you the structure of knitting fabric, and if you understand this, it will not be a problem, because it's actually doesn't make any difference which way you knit, if it's a Turkish style or if it's English style or Russian style or some any style. We all basically use very similar techniques, and result is very similar. In the end we have fabric that it looks more or less like this. On my example I have here rib stitch, but I want to show you that the base of the knitting fabric is stitches, and stitches are basically loops, and loops look like, you see, like this. Our yarn is always creating a loops. Let me take a little bit of yarn to show you what I mean about it. If you look on the structure of your knitting fabric, you will see loops. Don't twist, please. Yes, this will be our first loop, and then you create another loop, and they will interlace in these loops, and that's how you will create your knitting fabric. And basically all our stitches are loops, and only difference how we pull these loops through our previous stitches, because we form our knitting pulling yarn in shape of the loop through other loops, and then that's how we grow row by row, pulling this yarn. Let me show you. Here I have my knit stitch. I enter with my needle inside of the stitch, grab my yarn and pull it through, you see, and I create another loop. And for knit stitch I pull my yarn from back to the front. I enter to the stitch from front like this, and pull yarn from back to the front. You see, this how I make my knit stitch. But for the purl stitch, only difference the direction where I pull the yarn. I will pull my yarn for purl stitch from front to back. That's why I put my yarn in the front, enter to the stitch from the back, grab my yarn and pull it back like this. This is the principal difference. Again, I enter with the needle inside and pull yarn from front to back, and that's my purl stitch. If I turn my work, my purl stitches will look like knit stitches, and my knit stitches will look like purl stitches. I hope this is clear for you. Just remember that for knit stitch we pull our yarn from back to the front, and it looks like little V. And for purl stitch, we pull our yarn from front to back, and we have always this horizontal line of the yarn in front of the stitch. That's how you know which one is which. Another important thing for you to understand the way how you grab your yarn when you knit. It's two ways to grab your yarn with your right needle. It's yarn over or yarn under. This is yarn over and yarn under when your yarn is under the needle, like this. Yeah, let me show you, because this is important for you to understand if you use another ways to knit, not continental style, Turkish or English style. Then you enter to your stitch, and I do yarn under. I do my knit and purl stitches both with yarn under, and it looks like this. I just put my yarn under the needle and pull it through the stitch. Other way to do the knit stitch will be with yarn over. You enter your needle and you will put your yarn on top of your needle like this. And you see your yarn will kind of hug your needle and you will pull. I'm not doing this very well, but this is the second way to do your loops. You need to understand that your stitches is your loops, and on needles they are not laying flat, because if we imagine flat loop looks like this, yes, and has right and left side, and depending on the way we do our loops, they will stay on needles with the right side in the front or left side in the front. You see, now I will knit this stitch normally like I do, and then next we will purl. I need to enter from behind this way to don't twist my stitch. I will do my under, you see, this way, and this is my purl stitch. If you want to do it with yarn over, you see English style, for example, they hold the yarn in the right hand and then do something like this. I don't know to do this, guys, but this will be our yarn over purl. If you understand the principle, I want you to just understand principle, because this will facilitate your life a lot. Then you do yarn over. Instead of getting your yarn like this, you do it like this, and your purl stitches the same. When we purl them, let me try to do this. I'm sorry, I'm not very good in this type of purl, but this is for you to understand. Here you see that my sides of my loops are opposite. Here I have left side of my loop on the front, and on my second purl stitch, which I've done with a yarn over, I have right side of the stitch in the front, you see. And independently of where you're doing your stitches, another important thing, to don't twist them. I'll show you for an example. I have here my classical knit stitch, and I will do it through the back loop. And when you see in the front what happened with my stitch, it twisted. And this can't happen if you don't have it written in a pattern. If you have twisted stitches in a pattern, sorry, something here with my yarn, then if it's written in a pattern, it's okay, but you can't twist your stitches. That's why it's important for you to knit them on the right loop. Let's see on a purl stitch. On my purl stitches, I need to get mine through the back loop, but I will purl it now for through the front loop for you to see. It's better to see on the wrong side. You see my stitch is twisted. It's not open. It's you have like a little cross. This can't happen. Then when you knit, it doesn't matter how you knit, you enter to your loop like this, and stitch need to be open. You can't have that crosses, and you don't twist your stitches, okay? Then doesn't matter if you do this purl or that purl, yarn over or yarn under. You just see the position of the loops. Let me show you, for example, how it will look on the next row. This can be this way, and then you go through the back loop, or it can be the way you take it through the front loop. Just remember in your head loops. Your loops, they should be in a flat like this, and on your needles they will be turned on a side, right side or left side. That you need to remember. For example, for me, I do always yarn under, and when I knit in a circle, all knit stitches I knit by front loop, and all purl stitches I purl by back loop. But this is when I knit in a circle, because it has difference when I turn my work and do plain knitting. I just look how my stitches are laying, and here my stitches is the opposite way. My purls will be from the front loop like this, you see. I just see to don't twist it. It's very easy. And my knit stitches will be turned this way. They will be open now, and I knit they will this way on the round, and on plain knitting they will be this way. But it's not a problem for me because I now understand how it works. I just observe my loops and don't twist them, and I knit my knit stitch just getting inside of it through the back loop. You understand? And this can change on because everyone is knitting their way, and we can't talk about this in each pattern. Then you need to know way you knitting, and your stitches will be turned probably different way, and different way in plain knitting, different way in the round knitting. Then I show you my stitches this way, but when you understand it, your knitting will be pleasurable, and you will avoid so many mistakes because you now will understand what you're doing, how you're doing, and why you're doing the certain things. You know, I see these mistakes all the time on the internet, in the knitting groups, especially for beginners, because people come with a very simple mistakes. They lose the pattern, they twist stitches or some other very basic, very obvious mistakes. And I see that especially beginners, they just don't understand the principle and what they're doing. And I hope that this video will help you with understanding of basic principles of knitting, and you will knit with much more pleasure and much less mistakes. That's it for today. I hope you like it. I hope it was useful for you. Please subscribe to the channel, leave some comment, give me some support, and see you in the next videos.